And we are live. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to Moms, the number 4 Trans Kids podcast. Yes. My name is Dr. Lulu Miyamu, Doctora Lulu, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-hostess with the mostest, aka Ellen, another mama beast who truly doesn't give a fuck, because we don't give fucks around here. We don't have the fucks to give.
No, not at all.
Trans, yes. And to help us make some noise and ruffle some feathers and agitate today is Teak Milan. Teak and I, where did we meet, Teak? Where did we meet?
I don't know. You tell me, where did we meet?
I can't remember.
I don't know. I thought maybe maybe an Instagram kind of connection. I don't know if we've been in the same spaces before. Where you based at?
Maybe black BTAC.
There we go, BTAC. Yeah, there we go.
Right there. Okay,
yeah,
so
I did the keynote there a couple years ago.
Yes, exactly. I was there 2 years ago. So BTAC is Black Trans Advocacy Coalition. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's by Carter Brown and Esmeralda Brown. Beautiful people, amazing people doing things bigly in the Black trans space. So good. I'm so happy that I remembered that, because usually it's not very far. Very few things that I forget when it comes to this work that I do.
And where was that at?
So it's a yearly conference. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's in Dallas.
Oh, in Dallas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a yearly conference in Dallas. Let me tell you, Ellen, it is huge. Your baby might want to spin there. It is huge. They even have like a family reunion at the ranch. It was just, it's huge. It's everything. Yeah. Yes, it's everything.
Wonderful.
So
check it out.
How have y'all been? How was your week, Ellen?
Oh my gosh, it was great. Just time of reflection and hanging out with the chosen family and friends. And, Thanksgiving is we always call it either the Friendsgiving or the Gay Giving, or we call it the Queer Giving. We call it
anything but Thanksgiving.
We call it everything really but Thanksgiving. We unfortunately know how Thanksgiving came into existence. So we really don't celebrate, that very first beginnings of Thanksgiving, if you will, because we don't like to acknowledge and recognize the atrocities that has happened to Native people. So we have cultivated it and created it our own. And, but giving thanks is every day. It's not just...
Exactly. Thanksgiving should be every day.
Only the fourth Thursday of November. It's every day.
It should be every day. And we don't want to celebrate lies, period. Okay? We don't want to celebrate a lie, because that's a lie. America was here before anybody else came. People were here already. They didn't discover America. And let me tell you something. If you don't believe anything I've ever said on my podcast, please know that if somebody comes into your house and steals your kids and kills your kids and gives you diseases, you're not going to be celebrating with them and having a fancy dinner. So that's just a big, bull-faced lie. But I digress. Our guest today is the one and only Teak Milan. Oh my goodness. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, then I was talking about, today we want to talk about daddying while trans or something. I can't remember how I said it. Trans daddying with Teak Milan. When I was going through your Instagram, I saw one picture. You had a face cap with the word dad on it. And that just made me feel so good. So Teak, tell the people, who are you and why are you even on a podcast titled Moms for Trans Kids? 2 mama beasts who don't give a fuck. Why is you on this?
I love it. So who am I? So I'm Teak. I am a parent. I'm an advocate, a writer. I'm a public speaker, motivational speaker. I preach. I'm also a minister in my church. I do leadership development coaching. Yeah, I've been, I got my start in my career doing a lot of work with youth. So I used to work at Hedrick Martin Institute, which is the home of the Harvey Milk High School, the only all LGBT high school in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait. Say that again for those at the back. What's the name of the school?
The Harvey Milk High School.
Didn't even know there was one, and I'm surprised
it's all it's in New York. Yeah, right on Astor Place. all LGBTQ
Oh,
kids, and I worked at the Hedrick Martin Center, which was a center for like homeless and marginally housed young people, and also a lot of young people from the high school. And I taught in high school, so I've done that, and I've just been, kind of been the man about town here in New York. I've been here now for almost 25 years, and I've really kind of made an impact in my place in community, and I looked at as an elder, and I'm in my 40s, so they now they're calling me elder now, and I'm like,
Yes.
when
see
did that
that ain't no,
happen?
I
see
What?
that
know.
ain't no elder. We just getting
What?
started.
I'm,
Talking about
I'm just
elder.
getting started. What y'all talking about? You know what I'm
We
saying?
just getting
So
started.
yeah, and I've done that. Did a lot of journalism, worked in music. So my professional career, I've kind of run the gambit of it intersecting with my identity and my transition, and trying to have an impact in my community. And then outside of that, outside of professional work, again, yeah, I'm a father, bit of a gym
Yes.
rat. Live in New York City.
Now,
Yeah, I'm a
how old
brother.
is your child?
My daughter's 7.
7.
Yeah, well, she'll
Yay.
be wait, no, wait, no, she'll be 7 on the 17th of January. So she's almost 7.
Capricorn.
She's Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
7.
I know one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about just this today's show was this concept of seahorses. I want to hold space for all trans dads, all trans people, period. But the seahorses are so unique, is what I like to say. Can you tell us what is a seahorse? Who is a seahorse? And why do their lives matter?
So seahorse is a term. Well, for folks who don't know, so seahorses in nature are male horses who actually carry their male
Mm-hmm.
horses. Male seahorses carry the babies
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
ocean, so the actual animals. So in community, a seahorse is a term for trans men who decide to carry children. And I think
Wow.
it's important. So that's something I wouldn't choose for myself, but I do think that it's important for people to be able to do with their body what they want. And you have a reproductive system that allows you to carry a child. You want to carry. You have a reproductive
Mm-hmm.
system that allows you to make a baby. Go on, make one.
Make it
So
happen.
I know a few brothers who have birthed their own children. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I could understand how that could be hard for people to kind of wrap their minds around. Like, I get
Mm-hmm.
it. I totally understand that. It is complicated because all of it is very complicated and complex. But again, I think people should have the freedom to do what they want with their bodies.
I
You
love
know, and
it.
it's really great that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of times when people talk about trans men, they forget that there is this acceptance of duality, and having to still embrace embrace the female organs that they
Sure.
have in order to carry and procreate, if you will. And I think that's a lot of the misconception, that when you are trans male, there's only one box that you can fall in. And
Mm.
Yeah.
so there's so many complexities to, oh, but wait a second, you're trans male. Well, you wanted to be a man and now you having a
Yeah. Yeah.
kid. And
I
so
know.
there's so many things that I think that
Hmm.
people don't really have this broader conversation. And I'm so glad that you really touched upon that, because there is this stigma that once you're trans male, then you've left
Yeah.
everything behind.
Yeah, I think that there's a stigma. There's that, and also there's just a cultural stigma that trans people don't deserve families, or that we can't bring life into
Ooh.
this world, or that we can't raise children and have our own families. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
So there's that too. There's like this cultural component too that we have to come up against, as well as people not being able to uh, decouple childbirth and bodies and gender. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And again, I understand the complexity of the thinking around that, but yeah, it's difficult. But again, if you could bring life into this world, you like it. I love it.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love what's happening here. Ellen, I love the word duality, but I want to take a chance and say multiplicity, because that's the whole context of intersectionality, is the multiplicity. There's so many levels. Your trans man is maybe like, I don't know, 0.1% of who you are. And there's so many other things. And I love bringing in the fact that people think that trans people don't deserve families. I say people think that trans people don't deserve to be happy, period. And
Sure.
which is why we have a whole government, this arguably the strongest government in the world in their minds, attacking 1% of the population of America. It's just
Yeah.
like, how low can you go? How
Yeah.
low
Yeah.
can you
1%. And it's unfortunate because this whole fear mongering that has been happening has really put a target, um, just a target on women.
Yeah,
And I
for
think
sure.
that is the broader conversation. I think Teak, you had posted about, as I was looking through and doing just kind of
Mhm.
like some research, just on your post, you had brought up a really good point and mentioned about the boxer, who
Yeah.
has
Yes.
high levels of testosterone, and and that became a whole controversial issue. And I look at women in sports such as Brittany Griner, who has high levels of testosterone. I look at
Hmm.
the I cannot remember her name, but I do believe she is an African um
Caster.
Yes. Yes. That was a
Hmm.
picture. There was a picture of you and her. Was that on your page or something? And then there was also recently, I think it was yesterday, one of the British, I don't know, lawmakers said something about the female footballer who won the footballer of the year, who is a
Yeah, and I think it was
cisgender.
J.K. Rawlings too.
Jacob
J.K.
J.K.
Rawlings,
Rowling.
she wrote
Rowling. Yes.
So
said
it's a
something
female
about this.
footballer who is a cisgender woman, but because she's not shaped like, I don't know, some Eurocentric woman somewhere, therefore she's trans. But this is why I say, and I continue to say, that when people attack transgender women, they attack all women. So if you're
Sure.
cisgender and you're sitting on your pretty chair thinking, oh, that's not my problem, wake up and smell the coffee,
Yeah.
because
Well,
if
that's
they're coming for someone, they're coming for you. It
Well,
might as well
also,
be you.
what we see happening here with this criticism against these cisgender women who don't fit to this box, it's anti-black and it's racist. So
Period.
Absolutely.
what's happening is you're having these awful violent racists who are using transgender people to scapegoat their own anti-blackness and their own racism. This is only happening to women of color, cis women of color, who are being targeted as trans women in this really violent kind of way. Same thing we're seeing in our government now. Transgender people only make up 2% of the United States population, but we have become the cause du jour of conservative politics, and have
Hmm.
really used this idea of trans people as deviants, as people who want your raggedy ass kids, or as people who are trying to deceive you, as a way to garner up their base. When this is just a bait and switch, you're looking at 2% of the population, where you're not looking at what they're doing to the economy. You're not looking at what they're doing to the education system and to our healthcare system, because they're creating this fear in people that transgender
Hmm.
people are the boogeyman. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And I see right through it. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And
What
it's
do you
and,
think about? Go ahead.
and to your point, it's weaponizing
Hmm.
this, just using this language. And also, the bigger picture is, even let's just even talk about same-sex marriages. You know, we weren't even factored into the percentage of divorce rates. So
Mm-hmm.
when they talk
Mm.
about the divorce rate is 50%, that was, we weren't even factored into that in the census.
Yeah.
So it's these conversations that happen, just not only just with the trans community, but with the queer community and a broad spectrum, where it's like, let's highlight and focus on this fear mongering. You have trans people, queer people, people in the LGBTQ community who want to raise children, and they're
Mm.
adopting cisgender
Yeah.
families that want
Sure.
Mm.
to adopt the children that they can't take care of.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay, let's take a pause here. So the show is called Moms, the number four transport. And if you were wondering why we call ourselves Mama Beasts, hopefully you got a little snippet of it, because we don't play when it comes to our children's. I want to give a quick shout out to Professor Roxana Ezenekwe, another Nigerian badass babe who is watching us on LinkedIn, and a whole bunch of y'all on Instagram. Please feel free to type in your questions. Ask us any questions. We will answer them if they make sense. If you come and talk junk, guess what? I'll mute you and I'll boot you off, because we do not care. The show is about holding space for trans people, talking positive stuff about trans people and about queerness as a whole. All three of us in the space are queer folks, but we also identify as so many other things, bigger and badder than just our queerness.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to something that was mentioned before when took a little break, talking about the target on women and mostly being Black women, we remember Serena Williams, maybe even Venus, her sister, I don't know. The boxer during the Olympics, obviously a woman of color. This woman that won the soccer of the year, soccer player of the year, also a woman of color. What do you think, Teak, about the Karenization of America, which is what I call it? The Karens who suddenly started buying blue bracelets. Oh my God, we voted for Kamala Harris. We're not like them, or they're not like us. What are your thoughts about the effect of that on the one single? I don't know if she's the only one in the Senate, the one transgender white woman.
Oh yeah, from
Oh, that was
again,
so that would be Sarah McBride.
Sarah McBride.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about the effect of this Karenization on this side, and then this one trans woman who happens to be in the Senate and is going to now use the men's bathroom? What are your thoughts about that?
Okay,
Because
so
what I'm asking is why haven't they actually? What I meant to say is why haven't they all come to her rescue? Does that make sense? Like they're making all this noise. Oh my God, we voted for Kamala Harris. We're with her. We're with her. Now we have one white trans woman who's under attack, and all of y'all are quiet. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, because they don't care. And at first, the blue bracelets, I don't give a shit about their blue bracelets. I don't
Well,
give a shit about their blue
hello.
bracelets. I don't care. I haven't paid any of that, any attention at all. And, Sarah McBride has to do what she has to do. And I feel sorry that she's put in that situation that she has to use the men's room. I don't know if I would,
I wouldn't.
if I would do that. But again, I can't speak about what I would do because as a trans man who is assumed to be a cis person, I don't get a lot of anti-trans vitriol and I'm not policed. Because I'm a man and then I pass as a cis man in the world. So my masculinity is acceptable, right? So I don't have to deal with those kinds of things. And I think these white women are coming to her aid because this is what white women, a lot of times, this is what white women do. I mean, organizing a lot of times has happened in queer and of color and Black spaces. Particularly Black women have been primary organizers throughout in the Black Power movement and the Civil Rights movement, in a lot of the allyship spaces, in the womanist movement outside the white feminist movement. So I really don't have a high expectation of. I don't have a high expectation of white women organizing and coming to Sarah McBride's allies to her side and fighting for her. You know what I'm saying? And again, I think this also just goes into like it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, trans people. And this idea, and again, this is just a distraction. Having this woman, the senator, use the men's room as if she's a danger to anybody. Again, this is kind of this bait and switch. This is that Jedi mind trick. This is that look at this over here, distracting you about where this woman chooses to pee instead of looking at the real issues that are affecting every last one of us.
Right.
So I think it's less about that and more about what they don't want us to look at and paying attention to trans people.
And you have one of the other ladies in Congress, Nancy, I can't remember her last name, who has made it such a target. And she had mentioned, and I mentioned this last week on our show, she had mentioned about how, she is a rape survivor, and not to take anything away from the rape survivors, and to make light of that. But here she is supporting somebody who has been brought up on sexual assault charges, who believes in grabbing women by the pee, who also believes in supporting somebody who's a child predator. And she did not feel
threatened or scared,
or she didn't feel that was an issue. But the moment that Sarah got this seat, now all of a sudden she feels violated. So the hypocrisy is just overwhelming. And I even think about Caitlyn Jenner and her stance on trans girls not being allowed to be in sports and women's, like it's so.
How is that even possible?
It is just
because it's possible because you have a late transitioning white woman who has been a white man for the majority of her life and has proximity of power, and so her transitioning doesn't mean she's going to give up that power, her proximity to it. You know what I'm saying? She's an embarrassment. She's an embarrassment. But here's the thing. I understand all of these things are happening in the trans community and they're going to continue to happen. You know what I'm saying? The more and more we become diverse as a nation, as a humanity, the more and more trans people decide to define ourselves for ourselves and take up space and be visible and say that we deserve love and we deserve families and we deserve rights. The more and more we are going to have this type of, the pendulum is going to swing. We're going to get more violent reactions, we get more vitriol because people don't want to give up that power. People don't want to give up. People don't want to acknowledge that there are multiple truths. They don't want to
Mhm.
understand that what they understand to be men and what they understand to be women is bigger and more expensive and more complicated than they think.
Yeah.
They don't want to recognize the freedom that it takes to be the freedom and the tenacity that it takes to be a trans and queer person, because it says something about the freedom and tenacity that they themselves have not engaged in.
Right.
So for me, I really don't give a whole lot of energy to this, to like all of the bullshit that is happening to trans people, because we don't really have any control over these systems or over like anti-blackness or white supremacy. We really don't. These are things that are baked into our systems, into our consciousness, into our subconscious, into our language. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the things I really try to focus on is, as trans people, how do we find our joy? How do we continue to
Mhm.
build community and mutual aid? How do we continue to build families despite? How do we continue to strategize? How do we continue to fight to build revolution within our spaces? Because here's the thing: all of this shit is going on, but we trans people, we've been here. We've been here
You've
for
been
thousands of
here,
years.
especially
Right.
being
They
black,
can't.
especially being
They're
black.
not going to kill us. They're not. They're going to make it
Yes.
harder, but we are not going anywhere. We're
We're
not
not
Yeah.
going
going anywhere.
anywhere.
We've
And they're
This
always
is the,
been
using
this is
here.
really time for us to really look inward and see like what are
Mm.
the things that we are giving to each other. Like
and they're using the
fuck this.
trans agenda to pass all of these other things under the table, and taking focus off of what they really should be focusing on is which is being creating equitable spaces. So
Mm.
they want to highlight on the trans community while they're doing all of the dirty work under the table to now take away from other either marginalized communities, to now
Yeah.
take away from all the other things that have been built and created by black and native and indigenous people in this country. So there's such a broader spectrum. And to your point, when you said that, Teak, I wanted to ask you, I know this administration has made a lot of had a lot of conversation about taking away, removing the medical rights and access that trans people will have when the administration takes over. How do you, what do you say? How do you support that? How do you support trans people in having them to understand that they're still have rights to access, and how do they go about
Yeah.
making sure that they secure
I
that?
love that question. I love that
You know,
question.
I always
Before you respond,
sure.
the show is called Moms, the number 4 Trans Kids. We are on Apple and Spotify and anywhere you listen to all kinds of good podcasts. Also, we're on YouTube. Would like you to please go all the way to YouTube, swing there, and give us a follow, give us a subscribe, and tell someone about us. We are usually here every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central. So help me God. Eastern. I've moved to Atlanta. I keep forgetting. So help me God. And usually we have a trans person or an ally, or maybe even sometimes when we don't have a guest, it's just me, myself, and I, or one of my co-hostesses with me. So the show is called Moms, the number 4 Trans Kids. And we truly, when we say we don't give a fuck, we're not joking. And yes, we can cuss on the show because we can. So my guest today is the one and only Teak Milan. Teak Milan, thank you so much for coming and just being one of us today. I want to also say hello to Jude Nwawere. We have a lot of Nigerians in the house today. What's going on? And we have Abel Kie, we have Riz, we have Advocate, we have Lady Omega, Adeka, Miss Regina, Audrey Zip, all of y'all. If you have any questions, please let us have your questions. We will take any questions except anyone that is rude and intrusive. We may not take that.
So the
But
question was,
go
how
on.
do you, Teak, how do you support and help trans people navigate through this next or this upcoming administration as they're threatening to take away medical access and care that is needed?
Sure. I think one of the things that I try to, when I talk to trans people about what to do, is just to strategize about where you can find allyship, where you can find
Mhm.
information, like know your rights in your state. There's organizations who are operating to get to make sure that trans people have access to healthcare. Find those people or
Mm-hmm.
move if you can. I know that's not the easiest thing,
Yeah,
but if you have the ability and you can leave that state, leave.
leave
You
it.
don't have to
I
be
Yeah,
there.
say I
You do
say
not have
leave.
to be
I
there.
agree with leaving because
You know.
catch them where the money is.
Yeah,
Where
leave if you can, but also understanding too that transgender people like black trans people are 4 times under the national average when it comes to poverty, right? So 4 times the national
Mhm.
average of the poverty rate for black trans people. So that is not going to be necessarily a viable option. And also the majority of black LGBT people live in the South, right? So of
Yeah.
course, and again, the correlation is clear. There's more Black people in the South. There's more Black trans people in the South, and this is where you're going to have
Therefore,
legislation that is the most racist. And racist legislation is also sexist, is also transphobic. It affects everybody. If you can leave, leave. If you can't leave, find the allies. Find the underground networks of people who are getting people their shots, getting people to their surgeries. This is just what we're going to have to do. It's going to be underground networks. This is how it was before. It's going to have to be like this again until there's another administration. But and also on that front, you have organizations that are fighting this in the federal courts and at the state level. So let those people do their jobs, and us in community start building networks so that we can get people to the care and the safety that they need.
Yeah, I know that leaving is not an option for many people. I was lucky enough that I've been out here in California, after a few years outside of college. I'm a, queer lesbian myself. I have my son who identified first as a gay androgynous female, and then came out as trans. So, California has been our base, and lucky for us, California is one of the safe havens for a lot of people, not only just with
yes.
Trans community and the queer community, but also with reproductive rights and abortions. So California is definitely, I don't know how much it is in New York. I feel like New York kind of parallels with California and just the laws.
Yeah.
But it is about it is a luxury that we have, and it definitely is an entitlement that we have in living in California. So that's really a good point that you bring up, because I wanted to ask that, because it's so important that people hear that these underground networks that are in existence and that need to
have always been existing,
so that there is a sense of hope in that way. And just not feeling like there's going to be this stop in the medical care and what shots and they need and all of the other things that's necessary for them to continue to live their authentic self.
I have a question. So I love that you said how do we find our trans joy? Where can they find allyship? So, Tik, before you answer that question, I want to switch a little bit, because I really want to talk about daddying while trans. Many people out there do not even believe that trans people can have families. Trans people can be effective parents. They think that once you're trans, you're damaged and that's it. So can you tell us a little bit about being a parent as a trans person? What kind of conversation is at the dinner table, how do you introduce transness to a child? And how are you living authentically and finding your trans daddy joy, if there's such a thing?
So I think as a trans father, and I'm a father, I know many other fathers, when it comes to that conversation about being trans, I've always felt that I never wanted to have to come out to my daughter. She just knows that her father's trans, that transgender people exist. There's trans men, there's trans women, there's non-binary people, there's cisgender people. It's just a fact of life. So it's not, so that's just something to introduce very early, So me as a father, I do father a lot in the community. Like I have a son, a grown son in the community who I met at Hedrick Martin when he was a young person, and he and I have grown as father and son. I have my daughter, but I don't have a relationship to my daughter anymore. My ex-wife, decided that I was an abomination, and she found Jesus, and she's kidnapped my child.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I saw my daughter in June. Last time I see my daughter, she called me Mr. Teak. She didn't even know who I was. My ex-wife disappeared with my daughter for a year. It's been bad. I've been in court for 4 years trying to get to my daughter, and we were in Dallas in court. Dallas courts treated me terribly, really, really badly, even though I already had a custody order. So I have a custody order in place. But my ex-wife, again, she's kind of, I posted about it on my Instagram, but she's just flipped the script. She's like, she said to me, you can play dress up all you want, but you'll always be a woman. This is the woman I was married to, had a baby with. Yeah. So she so she doesn't allow me to see my daughter. She doesn't call. She doesn't answer my calls. She won't tell me where they live. My daughter tells me that she's not my father anymore. All this is because I'm trans. So this is what my trans fatherhood has looked like. Now I know this is not.
Thank you. No. Wait, hold up. I want to hold space for that.
Yeah.
And I know you're from New York, you speak very fast, but
I do.
I
I
really
do.
truly wanna, for all it's worth, first of all, the Moms for Trans Kids want to tell you that we see you. We see you. And for any parent out there who has an estrangement from their child, please look at Dr. Lulu as an example of a parent who has experienced estrangement from a child.
Mhm.
I don't think you ever get over it. I don't think it's ever easy, but you keep putting one foot in front of the other. So, Tika, I want to hold space for you. That is not an easy thing. Now, my
No,
child is an
no.
adult. It was a whole different
Right.
situation,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, I know it hurts. So, can we
Yeah.
just take a moment and hold space for you?
Sure.
For a moment, don't be a strong Black man. I think it's okay for us to hear the pain that is not spoken,
Yeah.
because in the
Yeah.
queer community there's so much. I don't know if I told Ellen this, but Ellen, I have a poem that I wrote that is actually going to become a play. Maybe I told you. It's called "The Queerer the Blackberry, the Sweeter the Pain." It's
Mm.
for and I came up with it, and I'm so proud of myself, and it's still hush hush a little bit, but this is what we're talking about in the Black spaces, the queer spaces, in all of the intersectional identities that we have. There's pain, but also it's sweet. It's kind of weird, right? It's a sweet
Sure.
pain, and I think I changed it to the sweeter the joy and pain or something, because there's joy also in there. And so, can you tell us, how are you able to find joy every day
Mhm.
in the pain of not being able to see your child? What keeps you going?
I don't
Yeah.
know. Therapy. I don't know, but
Well, that part.
I tell you what. I tell you what. It has
Normalize
been.
therapy.
I appreciate holding space. It's heartbreaking. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna burst out the tears, and I know I'm holding it together pretty good. But best believe my heart is broken into a million pieces right now.
Of
Right now, I
Mm.
course.
miss my little girl so much. It's really unfair that this happened to me. It's really, really unfair. I'm not the only trans man that this has happened to. I know a couple
Mm.
trans men who have lost their children in similar fashion.
Wow.
This is a reality. This is a reality, and family courts. A lot of times they just aren't in the father's favor, whether you are trans or cis. I saw that when I was in court for my child, so it's been really hard. So how do I get through it? How do I find my joy? Yes, I'm in therapy. I also have really good people around me that keep me grounded. I also have and I really, and I have to say this, I'm a Christian. I preach in my church. I went to church today. I'm a firm believer in Christ and a firm believer in God, and it's really my spirituality that gets me through. That's where I do find my
Mhm.
joy. I do think that trans people, I do think that we are a divine people. I think that we do have a
Yes.
direct connection to the divine, to the spirit.
That's
So
magic.
I'm a
Yes.
Christian, and as magic, I also practice hoodoo. So I have all of this kind of in my life, and I find joy in knowing that God is always working in my favor. Even when it's painful, even when it's hard. And I've
Yeah.
done everything in my power to be a father to my daughter. I've spent over $60,000 in court. I've called the police. I've done this. I went to court. I came back and forth to Dallas 10 times. I was in for 4 years. I've gone through some of the most I've gone through some really heartbreaking shit. And no matter what I did, I was getting roadblocks in my fatherhood. So I really had to just pull back and really go to my spirit and say, like God, what are you trying to tell me? Maybe
Yeah.
the, maybe
Mhm.
maybe the timing, on God's timing. Maybe this isn't right. I've done everything that I can. I've done everything right. Done everything right to be a father, and it's not happening. So what they say, when the writing's on the wall, you got to read it.
Yeah.
So what I had to do, and it's been such a painful experience. Financially, it drained me, spiritually, emotionally.
Hmm.
And now that I can't even find them. She blocked my number, so I've really had to just kind of let it go. I've had to let go of being the father that I thought I was going to be, and just and allow the joy to come into my life, and try to say, okay, well, if I'm not parenting, well, I have a freedom to do something else, right? Because I can't like lose my faith, and I can't lose my
Yeah.
mind. And I can't lose my mind.
Because
So
that's
really,
what they
that's the
want.
because
Because
that's the
that's
thing.
what
When
they
you
want.
go through really traumatic, heartbreaking, or brutal shit that you just can't make any sense of, when it's just totally not fair, the only thing
Mhm.
you could go to is the spirit. That's the only thing you
Yeah.
could do. When they
Mhm.
tell you to let go and let God, when they tell you to give it up, when it gets that bad, I've had to give it up. I had to give it up and say, God, this just must be what you want. And your love for me, is through this pain that I feel missing my daughter, through this heartbreak, is going to make me closer to you. It's going to put me on the path of righteousness that I chose as a Christian and as a man of God. So that's how I get through it. That's the only way that I can get through this. And also, I've also had other tragedies in my life. I mean, like I lost my mother 10 years ago to cancer, and she was like my best friend.
Yeah,
Like
I saw
me and
that.
that lady, let me tell you, that was my girl. That was my girl, you know? And I survived that loss. And that was, and so, you know, I always felt if I could lose, you know, my mother, even in death, or just, I can survive the tragedy of loss, because that was the most heartbreaking thing. And then losing my daughter's still alive, but grieving a living child. So this is one thing, you know, my friends, you know, we've joked around and called me the king of heartbreak. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'm doing a conversation on the 3rd on heartbreak, on the 3rd, with my pastor from my church. But one thing I do know how to do is grieve. And I do know how to handle trauma and let
So
go. And so
so
that's what I've done. I've just let it go.
so not that this matters, Teak, were you the carrier of your daughter, number
No,
one?
I know I don't see her.
So that
I
was
said it
that,
earlier.
yeah. So that was what I was asking at
No.
the
Oh,
beginning.
okay.
Yeah, that was
No,
the
no,
whole
no, no. Yeah,
question.
no, I don't. Yeah, for me, my way my manhood is set up, I'm not carrying any babies.
You
So
know,
she
that's right.
carries. So she
But but
carried.
but
She
I want
carried.
to go back. I want to go back because
And
I
this was in
really
Dallas.
truly,
This all happened in Dallas.
Well,
yeah.
my daughter, my ex-wife is Canadian, so we were living in Toronto when my daughter was born, and we lived up there for 2 years, and then we divorced. I moved back to New York City, and then she moved to Dallas. It was this whole thing, but my daughter was born in Toronto when we lived there, and then when we
Gotcha.
divorced, we came down to the United States.
So this is so. First of all, can I just say it's heartbreaking? If I could
It is. It
observe a
is.
moment of silence, I would. But you're here, and
Not gonna
traditionally,
do that.
moments of silence are not for that. But can I just? I want to echo something you said. You said losing a living child. I
Mm.
want that is one of the most profound things I've ever heard in my 55 years of.
I'm gonna say it again. I did. You went out. Say it again.
You said something about, because you speak so fast. You said something about, you said
Sorry.
I'm losing a living child. That
Hmm.
is so profound. Like, I want to say to anybody who can hear us today, I don't know why people are mean to people. I don't know what you see in being mean, but I want to quote Alok, my God, my I love Alok so much, but
Alok is great.
Alok
They're
Yeah,
great.
Alok
Alok
They are
said
is
great.
great.
Alok is the bomb. Alok said
Brilliant.
people
So great.
who are hateful, that there's actually studies that have shown that they die young. So whether Alok is right or not, please, if you're a hateful person, think about the quality of life you are
Mm.
leading, because you're spending so much time cradling hatred. Like, for real.
Yeah.
How is it okay for you to do this to someone? Like, a father is saying that they've lost their living child. I heard
Yeah.
that. I heard that, bro. I heard that. And I
Yeah.
want to hold space for you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being so
Mm.
vulnerable. I never know where these shows, I never know where the people are going to take us. I never know what we're going to talk about on this show. That is one of the most profound things I've heard in
Yeah.
my
And
life.
being so transparent, I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times we don't hear um these stories, and people, just to hear that, people don't recognize that we live the same life, unfortunately, good, bad, and different,
Mhm.
as our cisgender counterparts. And a lot of times people think they don't understand that. Well, first of all, they remove trans people from being human beings.
Human
let's
beings,
let's
yes.
let's start there.
Less than.
So they can't fathom that these things happen in queer spaces, trans spaces. They happen just like anybody else that will experience some of
Yeah.
these tragedies. So thank you
Yeah.
for being very transparent and open about
So
that.
Of
much.
course. Of course. Of
Whew,
course.
that took me out. So the show is called Moms for Trans Kids. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please subscribe. And I'm so happy that I've finished writing my book, because I would have rushed to add a chapter about what we just talked about today. So
Hmm.
Ellen, hint, hint. You want to ask me about my book, Ellen?
Yeah, well, I have it here written down in my notes. So Dr. Lulu is coming out with a book, y'all. So tell us about your book, Dr. Lulu. I know you are excited about this project.
I am extremely excited about the project. So the book is called About Your Black Transgender Child, and it's pow in living color. So About Your Black Transgender Child answers to most of your burning questions, coming from obviously from the perspective of a cisgender mama beast. And I tell people sometimes that I said, I cannot ever tell my child's story, but I am the next best thing. So I am telling people, I'm going through, I think we have 40 chapters. The last time I checked, I put everything and the kitchen sink in this book. And the chapters begin with about, the word about. So about handling homophobia, about your child and the healthcare system, about intersectionality, about how to respond when your child tells you who they are, about, medical transitioning, about detransitioning. So just like that, all the things. What one of the people who read the book said was she just, in fact, she said, I was just blown away. She said the research was bar none and the information is amazing. And I thought it was too much. And I've been feeling a lot of imposter syndrome about the book. I'm just like, oh my God, is anybody going to read it? She's like, look, you need to get that book out. And so today, this morning, I said, okay, I'm going to pick a date. So December 31st is the day the book is going to hit the stores, y'all.
Yay.
Woo! Go to my bio. Please grab the link and sign up for pre-orders. It's going to be like 99 cents for like a week or something. That's kind of how they do the marketing, so we can hit that bestseller list again. But I am so excited to go into the New Year's with a new book. So December 31st, y'all, the book is called About Your Black Transgender Child, Answers to Most of Your Burning Questions. And out of this book is born the conference, the Parents Supporting Parents mini conference. There's a play called The Queerer the Blackberry, the Sweeter the Joy and Pain, which is coming out of this. There's a whole workshop attached to the book. There's an online course. Y'all, let me tell you, in the next 4 years, all of y'all is going to be smart about Black transgender children. I'm done with the hypocrisy, with the lies, with the misinformation, with the disinformation, with the myths. None of that is true. And the first chapter talks about 10 things about Black history and the LGBT plus community. And I talk about the fact that in Africa, way before Columbus or whoever liar said they discovered us, we have had queer people, we have had trans people, we have had non-binary people. In my language, Igbo, we do not have gendered pronouns. All our pronouns are they, them. So hello, if we have a word for it, that means it exists. And so please go sign up. Just follow me on social media. Go to any of my bios. The link is there for you to sign up. On Instagram is The Momatrician, and on Facebook is Dr. Lulu Angels Haven, which is my nonprofit. I could talk about this book forever, but y'all, not because it's my book, but because I just really think, like this morning, I was like, oh my God, this book is actually good. It's actually a good book. So, I'm excited.
And it's important. It's important. Publications are important, especially Black parents, which kind of leads me into my next question for you, Teak, and, Dr. Lulu as well. But, we often are challenged with our Black community, our Black parents, embracing our Black trans children. And there was a post that you had put up in regards to the relationship that you and your mom had, and the time that you came out to your mom when you were gay and then trans.
I remember that. That was just a beautiful
story.
And it was very, very, very reminiscent about my relationship with my son. He first came out as, gay female, and I was like, okay, well, I got that. Hello. I'm gay. I got that.
Right.
But then when he came out as trans, I was like, oh shit, I ain't got
what
that.
Is that?
I ain't got that.
I ain't got that. And and of course the love that I have for him is unconditional, but I try to explain to a lot of people, and as I educate and advocate for him, and advocate for many Black trans, whether male or females, I try to explain to people that there is this is apples and oranges. I'm not a trans person. I
Yes.
can't tell you psychologically and mentally, I can't tell you or have the connection of what my son is maybe deals with or is challenged with. People, one person said to me, T, oh, well, girl, you gay, so this should be easy. And I'm like, girl, it's not.
It's not.
So, how do you, what what are things that you can say to not just Black queer parents, but what are things that you can say to Black parents that have trans children, and just giving some advice into understanding, extending grace, and just having the conversation of acceptance.
Mhm.
We definitely lose when it comes
Yeah.
to a level of acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I
I
think
want to hear this.
for parents of trans kids, uh, keep it simple. Really
Mm.
don't overcomplicate it. When you say you love someone, there is no but after that, and
That's
it's really
right.
Woo!
not
That's
right.
Ellen's thing. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Ellen, I know you're happy to hear that. Woo! That's
when you love
Ellen's like,
someone,
wait, wait, wait. You
there's
say
no
you love
but.
your child, and then they say they're trans. That's it? Ellen says that's it?
Yeah, I said,
That's
Teak, I said in one of my shows, I said
like,
that was the deal breaker.
that was the deal breaker? I was like,
Like you
Yeah,
said, you
that's
loved them all of their life, and when they told you that they were trans, that changed it.
yeah,
yeah.
that's not love. That's not
That's
love.
not
That's
love.
power. That's power.
Ooh, that's
You know what I'm
control.
saying? So, and sometimes parents will confuse or conflate love with having power over their children and thinking that
Mhm.
your child doesn't belong to you. Your child belongs to themselves. Your child belongs to God. And
Right.
let me tell you, when I came out to my father, so let me tell you the two times that I came out to my father. So when I came out to my father as lesbian when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
I came up to my father. I told him, and he said, "Baby," he said, "You were my father. You were my child, and I was your father before we ever got here." And he said, it's not. He said, "It's your job to teach me who you are. It's
Mm.
Yes.
my job to teach you how to be in this world. I'm going to teach you how to be
Yes.
strong and how to be courageous and how to be nurturing and how to be honest. That's what I'm going to do. And you're going to tell me who you are." The second
Right.
time I came out to my father, just let me tell you the story how this happened. So I hadn't come out to him yet, yeah, because I
Mm-hmm.
was scared. And I had transitioned, and I was like, he didn't know. Maybe thought I was just like a really like hard butch. So
Yeah.
I brought my girlfriend home at the time at my dad's house, and we're at the kitchen table and we're talking, and she's referring to me as he, and my father's referring to me as she, and I'm just like mortified, mortified. I wanted to crawl under the table. So I get
Mm.
back to New York. My dad calls me. He says, "Is
For
he
sure.
now? That's what we doing?" And I was like,
Oh,
"Yes,
yes.
that's what we're doing."
Woo.
And he said, "Do you have a black suit and a blue suit?" I said, "I got a black suit." He said, "Well, every man needs a black and a blue suit, so I guess I got to buy you a blue suit."
Oh
And
my
then that was
God.
it.
Wait,
And
wait,
so
wait.
I'm
Hold
saying,
on.
well,
Wait, wait, wait. Your father was black?
my father
No, he was talking about the black suit and the blue suit.
suit.
Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, I know that. I'm saying, I know why I'm asking. Your father is a black man.
He's a
My
black
father's a
man.
black man, very black, very very
I
black.
want you to say that again for those at the
Oh.
back because and I know Ellie, you know this. There's a study that was done in Germany on fathers of lesbians and gays, white people. Okay, and all the men whose daughters were lesbians had such a easy time
Mm-hmm.
compared to men whose sons
Sons
were
were
gay.
gay. Mm-hmm.
And then
Sure.
these are white people. And when it comes to black people, I had a dad in my Facebook group who attempted to unlive himself because his son is gay. So I want you to say that loud because
Mm-hmm.
black men can accept and affirm and support and all the things to their kids. If your
Yeah.
father could do it, if my dad, who is 90 years old, Nigerian man, can use the correct now, I almost said her name, can use the correct name of my child, any black man can do it. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
give flowers to your father. Are you
Yeah.
Yes.
My
kidding
dad's
me? That's
great.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad's great, and I also my father's a very spiritual person, and I get a lot of
Hmm.
my spiritualness from him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not like super religious, like some of the like the
Wow.
hypocrisy in Christianity. My father's like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing
Woo! You
this.
know that.
You know,
Yeah.
my father does have a. I mean, he's a masculine kind of dude, but he's nonviolent and he's, but yeah. So I know, yeah, my dad's he's good people. So I'm saying all that to say, so when we're talking about for parents who have trans kids or gay kids, just when you love them, there's no but after that. It's really not for you to try to understand the psychology of them or why are they like this or what did I do wrong or what happened. We are not the result of some hiccup in the culture. We're not a result of tragedy or something gone wrong. We're not a result of anybody's mistake. We are just people. The human experience is complex. There's a spectrum of gender, and your child is on it. And what you need to do is start to understand. Stop asking questions that invalidates your child's existence, but ask questions that's going to complicate your own. That's my advice to parents. Stop with, well, what happened? Well, why are you like this? And what did I do? And how is your? Shut up. Ask yourself. Ask yourself. Start having those conversations with yourself, not with them.
And that is
You
why
got to do.
I
That's
always
the heavy
say,
lifting you have to do. And then the second thing I think is important for parents to do is to protect their child.
That's
Protect them
right.
for other people's ignorance. When I came out to my mom, she was like, I don't understand what this shit is. I don't understand what's going on with my kid, but I ain't gonna say nothing, and neither are you. My mother let her sisters know, don't
come over.
don't come over here with the
Don't
bullshit.
come over. That's right.
Straight
That's
up, and they
right.
never did.
I love that.
And
And
I
it's
think
been
that's
great.
the thing.
Ooh.
We move in these spaces where we want to get permission from people on how to treat our kids. And I'm just like, I've said this in many shows, many platforms. I say it to my friends. I said, listen, you can ask me all the questions you want. If you want to get educated on this topic, I will try to answer to the best of my ability. But you either all in or you not. And if you not, we okay with that. We just not fucking with you.
That's right.
That's
That's
fine.
right.
That's
We
fine.
just not fucking with you.
Whoa.
And
Yeah.
we cool with that. And
Yeah.
you'd be surprised, Teak, of how many people, when I say that, are like, okay, so Ellen ain't gonna deal with us no more. If we, you heard what I said. I said what I
Yes.
said.
Yeah, you always put your child
We
first.
don't lose.
People have to get over themselves. That's the thing.
Yeah.
People really have to get over themselves and allow their sense of truth and identity to be shaken up. And also parents have to decouple their identity from the identity of their children.
Right.
Okay, so hold up. So the show is called Moms, the number 4 Trans Kids. We come every Sunday in your faces and we cuss. Yes, I mean we do. But we also love our trans kids and we truly, truly don't give a fuck if you don't, because we are going to love our kids. Today's guest is Teak Milan. Teak has come today and just been so vulnerable, speaking very fast like a New Yorker that they are, but still so vulnerable. So thank you so much. Teak, where can the people find you? How can they follow your work? Do you have any books out there? Any links you want to share with us? We can put them we can post them.
All
But
of that.
before you do that, I always do this with any of my guests. Your next book is titled, Do You Have a Black and a Blue Suit? That is the title of your next book.
Yeah, that is the title.
That was
That's
Do You Have a
good.
Black
That's
and a
good.
Blue Suit is that. And if you don't like that, your favorite quote is, when you love your child, there's no but after that. What? I'm still doing that. Like, that is
You should take it.
Yes. So
Dr. Lulu will give you some titles, T.
I like it. I liked it. I like it. I do have a manuscript in the works, so that's
I don't know
helpful.
if she give you those titles and she gonna want a percentage when it becomes a bestseller.
All right, we'll talk about it.
That's a different conversation for a different show.
No, I'm writing that black suit, blue suit. No, that's helpful. I do have a manuscript in the works. I'm just trying to land it somewhere before I self-publish. But people can find me on Instagram. Find me on Instagram at the Mr. Milan. I'm there. You can find me on Facebook. My website's going to be up in 2 days, teakmilan.com, revamped with all of my stuff. And there you can contact me if you want to book me for speaking engagements. I'm going to come talk to your school or to your corporation. Reach out. Looking forward workshops. Reach out. teakmilan.com. Thank you so much. But yeah, that's where people can find me and find me just talking that good talk on Instagram.
And Teak will be here in LA for 6 months.
I'll be out in LA soon. Yeah, I'll be out there for
that part.
Yeah,
can we talk about LA? We have about 6 minutes to go. Can we talk about LA really quickly? So for those of you who follow me on social media, you know that Creating Change Conference. By the way, are you going to Creating Change, sir?
No, I haven't been there in years. I
Okay,
wasn't
so
planning on. I
Creating
wasn't
Change
planning.
Conference is coming back this every year. It is they say it is the largest LGBT plus conference put up by the National LGBT plus Task Force. And this year I am back with the Parents Supporting Parents caucus, y'all. They gave us a whole caucus, which is about 3 hours of me and other parents talking our walk, because that's what I do. I
Mhm.
talk my walk. We're going to hold space for other parents. We're going to share stories. We're going to share experiences and resources. We're going to talk about what it is to be a parent who is a radical agitator, ally,
Mhm.
advocate, and activist for their child. So if you know where Las Vegas, the real hotel is, grab your ticket, come see me. We shall be talking about that on January 22 to 26 at the
Mhm.
Rio in Las Vegas. That's one. Then two, in LA, come spring, Ellen and I are going to be holding the second mini conference of parents supporting parents. Yes, I am actually trademarking that name because I can. Parents Supporting Parents, we're going to be doing another mini conference, the Western Conference, so to say. So please find us, come share with us, come learn about where you can get resources in that region. Come and
Mhm.
hear from other people. We're going to have a community panel, as always, and we might have Tik come do the youth panel because we want to have a trans panel. We want to have in the community panel, we have a pastor, we have a legislator, we have a social worker, we have a physician, and then we have me, right? And then we have a parent panel. We have Ellen and other parents. So if you know anyone who will suit any of these places, please let us know. Send us an email at momsfortranskids@gmail.com. All right, that's
Mhm.
all I have. What y'all got?
Listen, Teak, it has been
Thank you.
amazing. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, the
Thank you so
conversation,
much.
the knowledge, just really speaking and just being very vulnerable and transparent and just letting us hear
Of
and
course.
share your story.
Of course.
But I just really hats off and salute to your mom and your dad. And I feel like sometimes as parents, this is our job to love our
Yeah,
kids. So,
Yeah.
when
yeah.
Yeah.
somebody
That's
says
it.
to me, "Oh
Sometimes,
my
all the
God,"
time,
when they
all the
Hmm.
say to
time.
me, "Oh my God, it's just so great that you love Nico the way that he," I said, "Well, I don't
You're
know any
not
other way to love him. Is
right.
that
You're
a
not doing
trick
nothing
question?"
extraordinary. You're doing what you're supposed to do.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't know
Yeah.
how to receive that sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, he's
But I
my
will say that I
kid.
appreciate the two of you as parents of trans kids that you do love and support your children. Because I will say that, the love and support of my mother saved my life. If it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for her in my corner, if it wasn't for her loving me, even when she didn't understand me, I may
Yeah,
not be here. So hats off to the both of you because your love is definitely keeping them and could be
yeah,
saving them. So thank you.
and it's so it's nothing unusual to hear that from you because my son tells me that all the time. He says, "You know what,
Man.
Mom? I'm gonna tell you that if you didn't love me the way that you loved me, I don't
Yeah.
know if I could have I couldn't have survived up
Yeah.
until this point."
Yeah.
Um, and you hear that, and it's so it's such an honor for him to be able to see that he can be who he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
It
I
really
don't
is.
I don't I can't imagine him going through a life of pain and misery because he just can't simply exist as who he is.
Yeah, and it's a shame that some
So,
parents can't. So hats off to you all too as well. And thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
me. This was great.
Yes,
oh my
and
gosh, it was
we
so
we we
wonderful.
one day are going to have a big fat reunion of
I would
all
love
our
that.
guests. One or two, we're going to just have a retreat of some sort of all our guests. These are all the plans I have, which is why I'm going to Thailand to go find me a small house that I'm going to buy so we can go to Thailand for the retreat.
There we go. I love it.
Listen,
Listen,
y'all,
She telling me she gonna move out here to LA. I don't know what she
I'm
Yeah.
moving to
Yeah.
Thailand.
look, T,
Thailand.
look,
Okay, here we go.
you coming out here in a couple of weeks. We
Yeah.
gonna
Uh-huh.
see how this go. Listen, you coming to a safe haven. So
Yeah.
California, this governor has stacked it
Yes, we love
That's
that
right.
governor.
laws.
That's
We
right.
love
That's
that
right. It
governor.
really has. I love that for
We
He
sure.
love that
stacked
good.
it
Now,
so.
listen, y'all. We will keep going because that's what we do. My name is Dr. Lulu. I love all of y'all. Yes,
Thank you.
I'm a radical. I'm out there. I'm loud. I'm Nigerian. I'm a mama beast, and I freaking don't give a fuck. But let me tell you what I do give a fuck about, though. Loving your child and loving yourself and making sure that you remember that you come first. Parents, you have to come first before your child. Here's why. If you are not filled and overflowing, you cannot love your child as they need to be loved. So
Yeah.
first and foremost, as Tik said, look within. Ask yourself the tough questions. Why do I feel this way or some kind of way about my kid being queer, my kid being trans? I always tell you all that the parent, the person who needs to be accepted is the parent. When you accept yourself, then you can affirm your child.
Wow.
My name is Dr. Lulu. It's been amazing as always. See y'all next Sunday. Peace, love, and soul.
Bye, y'all.